YouTube. So today I wanted to start a two-part series featuring Motivation 101. So I get a lot of questions about why I'm always motivated, how I get motivated, how I stay motivated, and so I figured I would share a few tips that I've learned, not just from my experience of doing things, but also what we learn as dietitians, because a big part of living a healthy lifestyle is finding the motivation to do so, and there's a lot of underlying reasons why it's hard for people to just eat healthy and work out. It's not just that people don't want to do it. Sometimes it's a lot of deep-rooted issues that need to be worked out, and there's a lot of psychology involved. So we do learn a lot about motivation, and the reason why I bring up psychology is because motivation is a term that psychologists use in various forms of psychology. So I wanted to do a little two-part series, and I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about short-term goals, long-term goals, why it's important to have both, what you need to do differently for each of those goals, and I also wanted to get into the tools and tips that I use and that I've learned that will help you in reaching those goals, short-term and long-term goals, staying accountable, and really seeing results. So I'm going to break the series up into two parts, so it is not super long, but I did want to make it informative because I wanted to give you guys something that is definitely going to be useful in starting a fitness journey. So let's get started. So obviously the first question we have to answer is, what is motivation? So motivation really is why we do something, what causes us to act. And it's a huge question studied by psychologists, and there's so many interesting studies and theories out there about motivation, but for the most part, that the why motivation exists is because there's an external force, an external reward that we're seeking to gain. And that's what sparks the motivation in us, because we want to get to whatever it is that reward is. It could be in the setting of fitness and nutrition. It could be, I want to lose 10 pounds. Now, if that is your goal, what is going to motivate you to lose 10 pounds? That's what you got to figure out. That's what you have to dig deep inside yourself to figure out if that goal is actually important to you, to your heart, and to your mind. If it's not something that's important to you, then you're not going to stick with it. Or I should say, you're less likely to stick with it long term, because it's not something that really speaks to you and something that matters to you dearly. So that's one of the things that is important when it comes to determining goals, is making sure that it is a goal of yours and not somebody else's influencing you that you should have a certain goal, if that makes any sense. So it usually is influenced by an external reward, like I said, losing that weight, or eating healthy, reducing your risk for heart disease. These things are goals that you want to see, but they don't happen overnight, and they don't happen by the snap of a finger or a wish from your fairy godmother. You got to work at them. So in order to do that, there are things that you need to do in order to make that process easier and increase your success rate in reaching those goals. So there are two main types of goals. I'll start with long-term goals. I like to think of long-term goals anywhere from 6 months or greater. To be honest, I don't know if there's like an actual thing from psychologists that say it is a certain amount, but to me, I think long-term goals are anything 6 months or greater. These tend to be a little bit broad. These tend to be goals that we make every new year during the start of January. We want to lose weight, we want to get healthy. They're very broad in general, and it takes a lot longer to reach those goals. There's usually, when you make a long-term goal, a lot of series of short-term goals that need to be in place in order to reach that long-term goal. So throughout this little video, I'm going to be using the example of your goal is running a marathon. So this is how we're going to break down what a long-term and short-term goal is. In the part 2 of the series about the tools and tips that you'll need to eventually attain that long-term goal, I will be using the same example, just to make it easy and make sure you guys all understand. So, like I said, the long-term goal is to run a marathon. Obviously, we all know that if that's your goal, you can't sign up the next day and do it. There needs to be some preparation in place in order for that to be successful. So that would be the first step. In addition to long-term goals, like I said, you are going to now do short-term goals. Short-term goals follow a certain criteria in order to really make them easy to be able to do, be able to translate into all aspects of your life. So there's a small criteria called the SMART criteria. And this is an acronym, and really when you are making short-term goals, you want to make sure that whatever goal you make is really meeting these requirements. And like I said, it's just a way to really make sure that you're making goals that are something that you're going to be able to do, that are realistic, that fit into your lifestyle, and they're not really just like a shot in the dark, things you want to do but maybe you don't have the resources, don't have the time. And so you set yourself up for failure because you don't have anything in place in order to make that goal a success for you. So following this criteria is really important in order to reach those short-term goals, which will eventually let you get to the long-term goal. Like I said, the criteria that you really want to meet when making short-term goals is the SMART criteria. Now, what that stands for is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-sensitive. So what exactly does all that mean? It's pretty self-explanatory. It's not that hard to understand, but it is important to mention and talk about. So for specific, you want to make sure that the goals are something that are achievable, very specific, so that you can really make time in your day to achieve them and to do them. For instance, in the example of the marathon, if you plan to do a marathon, say in a year, then you have 12 months to plan out exactly how you are going to train for that marathon. You have to eventually build up to 26 miles. So if you've never run before, that's definitely going to be a big task. If you have some experience, maybe it won't be so hard to do, but you still have to start somewhere. Say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you want to start running. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you want to run for 20 minutes on the treadmill. And Tuesday, Thursday, you're going to run for 1 mile outside. Now, that's a specific thing that you have on a certain date and a certain amount of minutes, because it's a very specific amount of time. So this way you can kind of measure, you can plan your day. Maybe the times change because other things pop up during the day, but really as specific as you can get it is really what's going to help you attain it. You know this probably in just any aspect. In nutrition, I want to eat healthier. When does it ever happen? It doesn't happen unless you make a plan. If you make a nutrition plan where I want to eat 5 vegetables a day, that is a great specific example of a short-term goal. This way you can measure, I had 1 vegetable, cross it off, 4 more to go. And this is a way to really track your progress, see what you're doing, see what changes you need to make in order to reach these short-term goals and make them more consistent. And it's really going to increase your rate of success. So a few of the other ones kind of go all hand in hand, like achievable, realistic, measurable. You want to make sure that you can really own up to these goals. You're able to do them with your daily routine, with your lifestyle. Everybody has different lifestyles, different jobs, different hours of the day. And if you are making goals that are not realistic to your real life, then they're not going to be obtained and you're going to set yourself up for failure. You're going to just go into the cycle of making goals and not being able to do them because they're not realistic, they're not within your reach, they're not attainable. So you really want to make sure that if you know you do certain things on certain days that are not able to be moved or budged, then you work around those things to find what will work for you when in reaching your goal, but also for the lifestyle that you have. And that's really crucial because it really is all about flexibility and being able to find what works for you and your family and your friends, and making sure you have the complete balance. The T in the SMART criteria is time sensitive. All of these criteria are really important, but I really love the T part. And specifically because I always am making goals, and sometimes it is easier to put things off if, like I said, the specific you can get them, including, which would include like all the criteria, the better, because you'll really have a sound understanding and realization that, okay, like I really have this goal and I have a deadline to make, and if I don't start something today, or at least work a little bit today towards something, you know, it's never going to get done in time. So this time sensitive goal is really important. So in using the example of the marathon, all right, you set some days for running every day of the week, a little bit there, and then maybe as the weeks progress, you can increase that a little bit more for how much you're running, for 40 minutes, 1 hour, or you can do it by mileage. I want to run 5 miles today on these certain days, whatever it may be. But the time sensitive is something whereas, say it's January and you want to run a marathon in May. You want to make sure that when you're setting your goals, that say by February, you are comfortably running at least 13 miles maybe. So halfway through the marathon. Now, that's a good kind of benchmark to kind of have. And you can say, okay, I have all these other small goals, and let me just tell you guys, it is just a whole bunch of small goals, small goals, small goals. Say that like 5 times fast. But it really is a whole bunch of goals setting like all the time, and you're constantly reevaluating, see what works, see what doesn't work, and that's really the beauty of it and the flexibility part of it, and you really just gotta go with the flow and see what works for your lifestyle. But if you want to be able to run that marathon, it's probably smart that you have at least a halfway point of when you would want to reach a 13-mile mark. So March, maybe that's a good idea. 3 months, I'll practice, so that means within those 3 months, I'll eventually have to be building up to at least 13 miles. And then when I get to that 13-mile mark, I'll evaluate, did I reach my goal? Did I get to 13 miles? Am I a little short? Did I get faster, quicker than I thought? And I'm actually ahead of the schedule? And maybe you can change your training plan a little bit. It's all about that kind of flexibility, having fun with it, enjoying the journey and the process. That's kind of the criteria for a smart short-term goal. And as you can kind of imagine, doing these over and over in every aspect of your life will be able to allow you to achieve more things and reach more goals. We always have goals every year. Let's be real. Do we always meet every single goal? My bet's probably going to say no. Maybe there's a small percentage that really get those goals in, those type A personality, really driven people, but we're human. Things pop up, life happens, and it's okay, but you have a plan, and that's what's important, because even if things get on hold, if you have a plan set in place, it's a lot easier to get back on track than if you don't have a plan, because then you're just like, okay, well, I don't really know where to start, I guess I'll just start running again. But if you know that you have goals in mind, with a very specific plan, with a timeline, realistic achievement, then you're much easier to get back on track that when you fall off than if you didn't have one. So that ends this video. I hope you got a little bit better of an understanding of the difference between a long-term goal and a short-term goal. They're both super important and both are necessary, but there are certain criteria that will make you have a higher success rate in reaching those goals, and I want you to reach your goals, because there's no better feeling than wanting something so bad and then getting the motivation to do it, and then you go through all the ups and the downs, and then you achieve it, and then enjoy the moment that you've been waiting for however long it took you. And that's kind of why I love talking about this kind of stuff and motivation. I'm always posting those kind of posts because it really is, I've had a lot of motivational, inspirational people in my life, and that kind of mindset, attitude, and work ethic really transformed me in the way I think about things and really helped me to achieve all the goals that I set out for myself throughout my life so far. And I still have a long way to go, many more goals, but all these tips that I'm telling you guys have helped me so far. I've seen other people use them and they work, and there's studies and research that backs them all up. So really it's like a win-win-win. They work, and I just wanted to share this with you guys. So this wraps up the part 1 of what motivation is. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Follow me on Instagram at Nattie Boss Fit and @NattieBoss_nutrition. I'd love to hear any comments, questions, share below. You can email me at natalie@bodybyboss.com. Also, if you guys are interested in personalized nutrition and fitness plans, you can go to my website at www.bodybyboss.com, There's a theme, guys. I think it's Body by Boss. I'm not sure, but it might be. So you can go check that out if you guys are interested in more personal plans. I do work with athletes. I work with a whole array of people. So I would love to help you out. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video, part 2.